Okay, Josh, I'm just super excited to talk to you. I want to jump right into the Braintap. I literally just sat in it, and fun fact, 2018, a couple years ago, I worked with a physician who introduced me to the product. But now I feel like it's even kind of bigger, better, new, and improved. So I was sitting in this chair. I had all these lights flashing, these sounds. It's almost like a meditation, correct?
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. So really, what are the lights doing? What's going on while I'm laying there?
Well, I think everybody can maybe Google Braintap, click on video, and see like little videos of it and everything. But yeah, there's a 600 plus, give or take nanometers going on in the eyes with blue light. And we choose blue light just because we could do a lot of lights, but it's less likely for people to have any effects with that if they, have flashing light issues. But it's a morning and sun frequency. And then in the ears, it's auricular therapy, which is like acupuncture without the needles. So there's this French guy people can Google. It's called Noget Frequencies. His last name was Noget. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but it creates a vibration effect. So you can use light to create vibration, and that's how we're going through the auricular therapy points inside the ears. Sometimes you'll even, in a quiet moment, unlike the event you were just at, you may even feel that vibration. Did your ears get warm by chance?
They did.
So that's a good thing, and unfortunately, it will go away when your brain is optimized and back to homeostasis. So after like 5 or 6 sessions, you won't feel it. And people are like, "Oh, I like the warming," but it's really a good thing when it's not there, because what we're doing, the reason they were warm, is because you're getting blockages unblocked. So it's kind of cool that way. So you've got the red and blue lights in the ears doing the auricular therapy. You got the blue lights there. And another fun fact about those frequencies that Dr. Patrick Porter has put into the earpieces is it's a Schumann frequencies. It's all through that 400 spectrum of the earth frequencies. So it's just, again, really trying to, at the end of the day, accelerate as much as possible for every single human, newborn, I just like to say 2 because I can usually put it on, 2 to like 100 plus years old, can all benefit. No one can do too many sessions. No one's going to have any adverse effects except, they're going to get their brain better.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like a literal spectrum of age ranges. Mm-hmm. So what's like the ideal person that would need something like this?
Everybody should have it. Now, I get this question. I'm also I'm a optimistic contrarian. I like to question, but I'm optimistic. But so it's like, oh, are we going to get addicted to where I have to do it all the time, and then I'm not as smart when I don't do it? Well, no, it's just like muscles. I work my bicep, it gets stronger. I don't work it for months, it gets weaker. Mm-hmm. You're going to be the natural human, or we're going to optimize the human to get even stronger the way that nature intended. So if we were cavemen fighting and gathering and things like that, they lived a lot healthier lives and they lived longer. But it's because their brain and everything was getting exercised every day. There's always some new tiger coming to get them, or some new bird or some new exploration. Yeah. So this is exercise for the brain. So when someone says, well, what's all this tech that I just kind of went through a little bit of what it has, just in the lights, there's a lot stacked together. It's brain health and brain exercise. If you see kind of our mantra, it's brain fitness.
Yes.
So their tagline is the Brain Fitness Company.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because honestly, I'm seeing, as a practitioner, just so many young 20s, 30s, so stressed out. And it's like you even mentioned, back, our ancestors chasing from bears. That's almost like the stress that we're having times 10, right? Because of endocrine disruptors, toxicity, our food isn't the best, just so many stressors. So I'm even having to coach my clients on how to decrease stress. So right off the bat, I'm thinking if they could just do something to tap into their brain, like what I just went through, once a day for 15 minutes, I would probably see their cortisol levels improve. And that's
you will.
Definitely. That's data driven, right?
So you gave me some good information, right? You're a health professional and practitioner, and you're helping individuals that sounds like they have overstimulation, overstress, not getting good sleep. And they're just, sounds like hustlers too. These 20 to 30 some, they're trying to figure it out. I've been there, you're still there.
Type A, very, yes, very.
So, newly wed is you. You're just newly married, you're having fun, but still that adds to stress. Even though we have good stress, it's still just a lot for the brain to process. So to hone in more on your question, who should use it? Well, look, athletes use it, but in this scenario, which you're bringing up, what we're doing is helping that person to relax and get into a deep theta state as quick as possible so that they can not think.
Yeah.
So those lights and the frequencies that are changing, I didn't mention it, but every 2 to 3 seconds, the frequencies are changing on purpose in everything that's happening. The binaural beats, isochronic tones, those note J frequencies. Plus there's 10 cycle holographic music stacked with a doctor. You mentioned like meditation. I like to say, hey, it's like meditation, not meditation.
Okay.
It's like the Silva method, not the Silva method. It's like NLP, not NLP.
Okay.
Right? It's like hypnosis, it's not hypnosis. It's
Right.
really been honed in over 30 something years with that input into what he's been able to pioneer. And he's able to duplicate that. For example, Leon Rimes working on, a sexual trauma program. Steve Aoki's interested in doing some things just with music. So we're excited about just getting to more people and resonating and getting lots and lots and lots of content, which we already have gobs of content. We hope no one ever catches up and no one ever will listen to all of the sessions on purpose. Because if they listen to the same session for 3-4 times, their brain starts to understand each of those patterns. Like you and I aren't picking up on all those changes, all these frequency changes, but the brain is. And so if I do it for 3 or 4 times, the same session, let's say it's a mountaintop retreat. I love the mountaintop retreat. I do it every day. Like it's psychologically, I love it, but I'm not exercising the brain anymore because the brain goes into autopilot. It knows all of those turns and twists. Kind of like when we're driving and like, whoa, how did I get here? Like, because you've been doing the same route all the time, your brain's doing it for you.
Yeah.
You're still going to pick up your peripheral on emergency situations, but you're pretty much on autopilot when you've already done these things in your car. Same thing. It's going to get it. So that's why the diversity of sessions is so important. So I kind of feel bad because there's so many people. I feel bad for all of our friends out there that are like, oh yeah, I love this. I play it on YouTube. I love this one every night. I was like, that's awesome. It's relaxing.
Do something different.
But we could go to such a higher level with, without the need to go do lots of appointments. I mean, once you get it in the hands of somebody, there's a lot of self-diagnosis. Do you mind if I talk about self-diagnosis for a second?
Yeah.
So you as a professional, and even let's say a corporation, or we're working with a group of employees on health. And we're trying to create cultures of health and educate. The cool thing about Braintap that I've discovered is I come from a construction background. Like you said, fight alpha positioning. I think, what did you say? Atypical.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Go, get it done.
Yes.
And so when someone would tell me, man, you need to relax. Like, I thought that meant like simmer down, bring the volume down.
Right.
Don't be so aggressive. I just didn't know until 2016 when I did my first Braintap session and got to know Dr. Porter. I was helping him since 2009 on other projects. And I was going to put him on with Dave Ramsey, Gary Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin on the stage and to all this new crowd. And I'm thinking, before I put my name attached to this, I need to know what this thing does. Yeah. So I was embarrassed to tell him I had never tried it. So I do a session. I'm like, okay, like you, like what the freak? Like, I can relax with all these people around and everything at an event. And then I go, so this is what it is to relax. Like this is like a physiological thing. Like my brain feels different, my body feels different. Because I didn't want to go meditate. Even yoga. Like my wife, let's go do yoga.
Well,
this is good stretching, but I'm not patient to do all this stuff.
Right. And there's like so many apps out there that do the meditation, right? But they don't have the lights. Like they don't have the frequencies into the brain. So that's something that's super different, super new to me. And I kind of want you to touch on what exactly that's doing. Because even in the session, Dr. Porter was talking about, going into theta and then going in like through the gamma, delta.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll say the phrases, but I can explain some of them just for all of us that haven't heard of them. But it's like, you've got the beta side and gamma side. And I want everybody to know this. Gamma is a beautiful thing. We're experimenting all over the place, like in Veterans Hospital with psilocybin. They're using psilocybin to help people not have suicidal tendencies, help them to increase gamma production, which increases GABA in the gut. People hear about GABA. Yeah. GABA creates those feel-good drugs, the dopamines and serotonins, different kinds of cool stuff. It's also a precursor to DMT. So there's a way we're experimenting to have a DMT journey without, going to Costa Rica and having a shaman help you throw up and do all these other things. Yeah. So there's ways to do it with light and frequency. I'm not saying not to do that. Rhythmia is a beautiful, wonderful place. If anybody wants to look up Costa Rican Rhythmia, we do fun things with those guys down there. But in regards to psilocybin, they were talking to Dr. Porter about how, there's people who don't have access to it and there's cost and there's people that straight up just don't want to do anything with psilocybin. So can you help us create gamma similarly to psilocybin? Not only was able to do the same production of gamma, but more. So gamma's the top. If we had like a spectrum, we've got gamma's the most fast and active, and it breaks down the plaque that causes Alzheimer's and dementia. I mean, it's a lot of good stuff on gamma. Most Americans, I have a testing device that we've seen, and this isn't new stuff. I mean, this is an astronaut stress test. It's been around for a while. Like, it's a combination of heart math and heart rate variability, pulse analysis, where it sends a little pulse through your body through these little clips. But it gives us kind of this little baseline of where somebody's at. We've had tens and tens of thousands. I don't know. There could be even over 100,000 plus tests. And most people just in our world, not including all over the world, just our world of Braintap that we're doing university studies and all these event studies, are always like 2%, 1%, 5% maybe gamma. We get Braintap, and it's not just Braintap. All of our other friends out there, could be hydrogen water, could be some other nootropics, it can be some other things that really move the needle, and we test that too.
Yeah.
And so we get that gamma. Anything over 10%, I say, is lovely. And then we get into the beta, which is like I'm doing right now. Push out things I know. A basketball player, he goes up. Everybody's probably heard of the NBA in the United States. He goes up to slam dunk the basketball. It's let's say there's 2 points down to win the game. Each basket is 2 points. You're going to try to tie it or win. There's 30 seconds left. He gets purposely slammed to the ground. They're like, let's take a foul and hopefully win the game, the opposite opposing person. The basketball guy that goes up to slam it and gets slammed to the ground, he has to go into fight or flight also. He was in beta. He's just doing what he knows how to do. Then all of a sudden his brain switches gears really quick. He's like, okay, what just happened? We hear the coach over there yelling, timeout, timeout. Whistles are blowing. Everybody goes over the side. He has to switch into alpha from beta very quickly. Alpha is where we get to concentrate. Alpha is where we can do problem solving. Alpha is where where you're hopefully at right now, yes. Comprehending and pulling in this information. And so then the coach says, do this, do that. We're going to win the game because you're going to do X, Y, Z. Go. And then he has to go out to beta again. So these athletes get to learn, they get what's called sensory motor rhythm, SMR for short. Mm-hmm. Now there's another way to say that at the end, but it is, to me, sensory motor rhythm. They've been developing their SMR since they've been 2, 5, 8, 10, whenever they started their sport. They don't know it, but they've created this great SMR, their ability to switch gears. They probably sleep good usually, unless they're on drugs or other things and are stressing them. But they usually are pretty optimized because of that action. We're getting people good SMR in 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions. They ain't going to have the muscles. They're not going to go out there and compete with LeBron James.
Yeah.
But they're having cat-like reflexes. They're having
that's the lights that's helping.
It's the whole combination of exercise in the brain.
Okay.
So we're helping someone with the lights, with the frequency, with the guiding, go from an awake state very quickly, sometimes in 2 minutes or less. But most people, between 2 and 8 minutes, we get them from that beta awake state into the alpha. And if it's a daytime session, because there's different sessions for what our challenge is or what we're trying to accomplish, even just breath work for 4 minutes. So we'll go down usually in a 10 to 15 minute session into a high state of theta where they can just relax. I call it the theta jaw. If you see someone laying down and they go, they just can't, they just relax. They cannot not relax. And so even if it's only for a little bit, like it's like 5 seconds and they go, oh, am I asleep? And they don't know if they dozed off. We got them there.
Is that like similar to when you're not, so like you're just falling into sleep, like not on the Braintap or anything. Yeah. Right. And you shake awake. You're
in this deep, what's going on? Now, the beautiful part of that is that's theta, right? So we've gone through gamma, beta, alpha. Now we're in theta. Theta is like epiphany, revelation, inspiration, eureka, and it's when our subconscious mind is solving the problems for us and it's helping us. We also can program the mind. Yeah, there's people out there like, oh no, bad people program. Yeah, they are. But we're stacking the odds in everyone's favor and we're helping to train that person. For example, they're now back to that. Now, I don't know how this is going to be edited, but I mentioned earlier self-diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when I got a hold of it and I start playing with my alpha men, I'm like, dude, guys, I don't know what your problems are, but I'm going to list a few most of us guys have. Anger, being an a-hole, being not cool to our family and wives because we take everything out on them because they're the ones at home. And then we've got old patterns and things that are bugging us. And then there's addiction, and there's pornography, and there's cheating, and there's ego. Oh my gosh, right? Like, I don't want to go share this with a therapist. I don't want to tell my wife. I don't want my kids to see me weak. But once I get what I call app awareness inside the Braintap app, it's going to happen. The dudes, the gals, the kids, they're going to, if they love it, they're going to get in there and they'll do, the little favorite part of the app is search button for me. Okay. And I type in anger. Woo! All these military ones, PTSD ones, I'm like, type in relationships. I need to be a better husband. So subconsciously get me to theta, Dr. Porter, and or the other hundreds of doctors he's collaborated with.
Okay.
And then once I'm into theta, I'm willing and able to say, please, expert, train me and teach me how to be better at showing up for relationships.
Wow.
Or Stephen Covey habit on a book, we could put the principle of a habit. So we have a whole audio series where we take the principle and do a session. So starting with the end in mind with you, starting the end with mine 5-10 years from now, I hope that we have big empires that we've been able to continue to curate, and that we are at some point having great grandkids that we go, remember when you guys were first married, right? That was so crazy. Now you got this many great grandkids and we're teaching them how to live to 250 unless a comet comes or Jesus or something.
Right.
We can't, foresee that. But subconsciously in the theta side is where the super learning happens.
Okay.
So we can do sessions on Braintap with just music and tones. I can listen to alpha with visor up on my headphones and concentrate for 2.5 hours more than I can with music, doing alpha sessions. But most of these sessions are designed to do these quicker 20-minute sessions. Optimally, morning, day, night. Morning, day, night. That's what I'm going to give to a dementia individual.
Okay.
And we can usually, in most cases, get rid of dementia or get them off the scale of dementia in 6 weeks or less.
Really?
Now, granted, TBI and other issues we have to account for, but the 150 women that we took in and did the test, they were all in dementia scales, different levels, and all off of the scale when they did it morning, day, night for 60 days.
What were the ages of these women?
Older.
Really?
I'd have to get you that study, but that's something Dr. Porter and Dr. Francisco Cedral, our chief scientist, can help you guys with.
Wow. So even I would assume when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, it's like past the point of prevention. I see a lot of younger 20s, 30s. So it's just as you get older, it's almost like that, past the point. But you're saying that, we're doing these studies on their brain, and we can actually not just stagnate their cognitive decline, but just completely reverse it.
Oh yeah, and I think you probably know. I think you're just setting up a good question because you're in this world, and unfortunately, a lot of people aren't. So we're trying to help get this out to more people.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Reverse age. Not just Braintap. Braintap. I always like to say, look, let's start with the brain, because I could take a peptide, I could take stem cells, I can do all these wonderful anti-aging and reverse aging.
Yeah.
Reverse aging.
Yeah.
Is my favorite.
Reverse aging.
So I am picky. I want to get rid of my gray, but you don't have to. But people are getting rid of gray, but yes, the brain I think is essential. I'm a little cocky on this side because I can get on stage and say, I won't say it like this, right? But that kind of approach and attitude. Look, every single thing you're learning at an event, every single product you're getting introduced to is great, but none of them are as important right now in today's world as the conversation of brain health. Yeah. And that's why Braintap is the most important technology at this event till somebody can do it better.
Wow.
So.
Wow. I would probably agree with you. I'm thinking of, so for me, genetically, I have a line of Alzheimer's in my family. So my grandmother died from Alzheimer's, and, conventional medicine will say that's a direct line to me. So I'm trying to be proactive in, taking action to not have cognitive decline as I'm getting older. And I can't help but think, if we and in our 20s and 30s don't take action with slowing down and trying to balance cortisol levels, trying to be proactive in our health, that's where we're going to be. So it's like Braintap will help us slow down. And is there a science to slowing down? Is this the best way that we can see cortisol levels level out? Because honestly, as a practitioner, I'm getting a little exhausted on telling my clients to meditate, journal, decrease your stress and quit your job. That's not real life.
It's a full-time job to relax.
Yeah, truly. And I'm just thinking, how many times a day do you do the Braintap? Is it for 20 minutes daily?
So you brought up 3 things that I kind of was honing in on. One, just the Alzheimer discussion. Let's look at Chris Hemsworth. He's also very similar to you, it's in this line. I didn't know it. And if you go look up Chris Hemsworth, have you looked at his stuff?
No.
About Alzheimer's.
But I know who Chris Hemsworth is, but I believe that.
In his documentary and some other things, he talked about, it's a big, you will resonate because you said exactly almost what he was saying. right? Now, so Alzheimer's, there is, we've got these MIT studies. I think the way I've heard it explained is they did a couple more because they didn't believe the first ones. We can get into that later, but there's a really fun story with Dr. Porter and MIT and some rats and some big machines, and then the Braintap headset.
Yeah.
And how that was different, and in an interesting conversation. I won't say it here because I'll let we can explore that later, but just know lots happening on Alzheimer's. Really good news for Alzheimer's, not just Braintap, magnesiums and a lot of different minerals and peptides and a lot of other fun innovations. But like the second thing I'm honing in on that you were mentioning is the 20 to 30 some, slow down, preventative, is that, and in that conversation was there's just so much. Like, oh, there's so much. Mm-hmm. So Braintap is like, if we don't have all these other things, or I'm getting overwhelmed, just Braintap. Yeah. Like, it's a perfect modality to add to a hyperbaric, add to this, add to that. I've done it in cars. I've done it at beaches. I've done it laying on the ground. I carry it with me on a carabiner. I do it in the airplane. We did something for like the airlines where we have a de-stress sleep on any schedule. Like you guys just came back from Europe, get back to your circadian rhythm in 24 hours. And so I literally will have my nervous system tester with me, and I could play with it on the plane on a long trip with somebody, and I'll do my sessions or like, what's the lights? But it always makes me feel amazing when I get done. So for me to answer your question on how often do I do it very strategically. I hope at some point everyone does it strategically. Now, if somebody's regimented, more like a military background, you're fine just setting that schedule. I do it when I wake up, someone says. I do it at 11 o'clock, and I do it when I go to bed. And they're very regimented. Now, if they have a challenge like dementia, a stroke individual, let's say they're not speaking and we want them to speak. I've personally seen someone start speaking after 3 strokes that's 62 years old and looks just horrible after a 22-minute session. Say, you effing guys, and looking up at me and my investor friend, and I'm like, well, is that good? And her daughter says she likes you guys, and she hasn't spoke for weeks. And then later, 2 weeks later, we give her the protocol: morning, day, night, morning, day, night, morning, day, night. She texts us, and I get the screenshot, and it says my mom said she loves me, and I haven't heard that for 6 years.
Oh, right? My goodness.
So back to reversing, back to this whole idea of how often do you do it. Morning, day, night's perfect. Now, I've had 2.5-hour session. I for fun, I'm like, okay, Porter and all this science and tells me I can concentrate better, so I'll try it,
Like, you laid there for 2.5 hours.
No, so what I did was I did my little test that you did.
Yeah.
And I see my alpha. My alpha's like at 12%. Nothing's too bad, but 12% alpha for concentration, right? And I knew I had to crank this contract out. Kids are at home. It's 2020, height of the pandemic. So scandemic fear, all that kind of crap. And kids are home out of school. I'm like, not going to the office. I'm trying to figure something out. And I usually listen to music. And in the past, I'm like, why am I listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers or some sort of punk band and I'm yawning and tired? So I don't understand the frequencies made. I don't understand the intention in that song. I don't understand what's happening subconsciously. So I'm like, I'm going to stack my odds in my favor, and I'm going to go to what's scientifically proven in the Braintap app, and I'm going to use what they use in the clinics, because there's over 3,000 clinics that have been doing stuff like this since the 80s when it was all kinds of gadgetry. They started in 89 with non-smoking clinics, and then they're like, help us lose weight once they stop smoking, help us stop alcohol. So that's kind of where they got their start, 180 clinics that they were doing for Dr. Porter. So here I am doing this contract. I throw on my headphones, my little Beats headphones, earpod or whatever, and I just have a bunch of alpha sessions because I didn't want to do the same one over and over. Had a bunch of alpha sessions laid out that I'm going to be doing until I finish. My goal was do this contract, listening to alpha till I'm done and see what happens. I think it was like 20 minute. Halfway through, my wife taps me, hey, do you want food? I'm like, no. I just totally was in the zone. Zone. I get done 2.5 hours later. And Porter's laughing because I'm like, hey, is it okay to do 2.5 hours straight? And of different sessions, she's like laughing, yeah, of course, but not many people do that. So I test my stuff right after, and I'm like 44% alpha. All the stuff, the delta, gamma, everything was like,
Wow.
And so just, again, this personal. I'm not a doctor. These are my experimentations. That's why I love biohacking. Mm-hmm. It's about me. I'm testing on myself. And we have the freedom to test. We have the freedom to go contrarian and let's try new things. Yes. We don't have to wait for my doctor, FDA, bless their soul for all the work they've done, but I don't have to wait for that. Mm-hmm. I get a pointer from you, go try something I know ain't going to kill me. It's going to work or not work. That's the biohacking. Let's test on ourselves.
Right. And so always chasing optimal.
So 20 some on their tablets all the time, on their devices all the time. They're just constant. Oh, fear of this, fear of that. They don't think it's fear sometimes. Tony Robbins, I love the guy. I was at a event. We just did a VIP thing with him, And I did never catch this, but he says, show me your stress and I'll show you your fear. You know, like, oh, I'm like, as a guy and a father and a business owner, I'm like, guys, I'm so stressed. I'm stressed because of this. I got to get the house payment. I got this thing that failed. I got this. I'm so stressed. And it was just so cool to see him say, show me your stress. I'll show you your fear.
Yeah.
Because there's some sort of fear causing me to react that way.
Right.
We don't have to do that. Now, Braintap's been helping me and millions of other people not react in a negative way. That helps us to just manage everything better.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully that gave you a lot of answers for those 3 areas I heard you
Yes.
talking about. Autism,
No, it did.
The 20-some, proactiveness. The last little caveat is get us these 20-some to 30-some people to be leaders, right? Let's help them not so worry about material. Let's help them not so worry about what social media and TikTok is saying and trending, and help them be innovators and pioneers and not followers, and get them out there doing things like what Braintap is doing with the testing new areas. And hopefully these leaders will help the 80 to 90 to 100-year-olds. So we can, as their charities and passion, help transition your mom, my dad who had a death of Alzheimer's, my grandma, dementia. There was so much knowledge that was never captured.
Yeah.
And that was the Think and Grow Rich principle with Carnegie was, hey, we want to have Napoleon go document this because nobody's sharing what we know in the elite. So now in elite health, I see that almost like a new Think and Grow Health, right? That no one's done, by the way. You should probably do that, Think and Grow Health, but maybe you should do that book. So then that's where it's like, okay, we need to get these people out of cognitive challenges so we can not only make their quality of life better, we need to keep learning from them.
Yes.
We need to get them documented in the digital world as well, right?
Yes.
Anyhow, that's just some
Well, I mean, it's even just with the people that I see, they're kind of they're so paralyzed by their own illness that it just starts to be mental. Exactly. What you just said, fear. And it's just like, you know, working with them on their mental state and trying my best to coach them in a way of, yes, you may have been diagnosed this thing, but that is not your identity.
Maybe you can steal this. I have a practitioner, physical therapist. She's so beautiful, Dr. Hiromi out in Monterey. You guys could probably Google her. And she's wanting to do a lot in Japan with brain health, right? But she gave me this new little tidbit. You may have a diagnosis. I call it a probability, right? So there's these probabilities, not diagnosis.
Right.
It's probable. But that's just a statistic. And she uses probabilities all the time. She always gets people to get that diagnosis out of their head. Right? And so that way we're not saying, you know, you have 2 weeks to live. Like, oh my gosh, what does that do to the nervous system? That's crazy. Hey, it's probable that you're going to have these challenges. Let's figure out how we can change the odds in your favor, and we'll go do these things.
Yes.
Right? So for your thing, you don't have to worry about it. You're not going to have any cognitive issues.
You know, I'm really being proactive and trying to prevent that. So that's why I'm here, what I'm doing. Okay, so I want to kind of switch gears a little bit because you seem very data-driven. And I know that you mentioned to me a secret project that you're working on. And I was hoping that you would chat with me about it because it is so up my alley. And I would just love to hear more from you on what it is exactly and what you're doing.
Okay, so hopefully I don't get in trouble with my other 7 partners at the family office. But if anybody doesn't know what a family office, just Google it. Summary is it's generational wealth, which usually funds all the banks and VCs and things like that and makes the world go round. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is an example of a family office. Then you have multifamily offices, and then you have investment funds and things like that. So our family office, the one that acquired my companies, and I get to be blessed to be part of this group, we go out and we find moonshot products. We invest in things in real estate. But the biggest thing that these family offices do is a 2-prong approach. Unfortunately, some are only one. Make more money. They want to keep making sure that their money makes money. It's smart. That's business. And that does help their generations to come have more ability and power to do other things in that foundation and in that family office. So most, though, are wanting to, with our assets and money, how are we changing the world? How are we leaving a legacy for generations to come? So hence the idea of this generational wealth, our tax shelters and that concept when someone says, I own nothing, I control everything, is when you're at that level where you don't. The foundation, the trust, all of those things run everything. So generally they have 50 million in assets they can deploy or more. They usually have 250 million in assets in general. So our family office has created something we call the Thrive Movement. So it's THRY for you, V, thrive.love. Now, there's too many THRIVEs out there, so we're doing that Thrive. We also had a product prior to this that we've got 22 products right now we've been experimenting with we use what's called Lytra, and you'll see this on the thrive.love site. So Lytra is our billions in mineral assets we use creatively to deploy to different investments. But that Lytra opened so many doors to us. It's a bioavailable mineral that we get from ancient sea crustaceans and fish that's in the brine of the Great Salt Lake. And so that we can add to any product to give it 100 plus minerals. Well, what we found was we were like, okay, how do we make more products better? And we're like, well, if we just add it to a product, that's cool. But how do we make the whole product better? And so that's where we kind of had this light bulb go on. This is going to be our mission. This is going to be the legacy of the family office. We're sick of organic certifications that tell us nothing except for whatever their organic certification was. Doesn't tell us how much glyphosates are in the soil. Doesn't tell us, if there was any heavy metals. Doesn't tell if it was nutrient dense or not. So we said, how do we do it? So we started solving problems. So fast forward right now, we don't have it launched, but we are in motion. We've already been having motorhomes out to these different farms, meeting them at church, giving out soil test kits for free, showing them how to use it, showing them how to do hormone testing on their products, on their harvest, and showing them how to test a product. And we put drones in the air and we show them what we're testing with what we call geoserm. Now, there's other cool companies out there that hopefully we get to acquire and partner with that are experimenting and getting great results too. We're doing everything from vertical farming applications to containership, this and that, and to, of course, the large alfalfa, the large rye right now. All these things are coming to harvest right now. And so we've been busy showing them our treatment. So this is without pesticide and their traditional fertilizer. And this is a big disruptor. One of my questions is, but what if these big companies look, we've got a lot of brains that helped build Oracle, that sit on the boards of Pfizer and all that, and they're not demons. And so we're trying hard to work and play with the markets as well. So guys, we play well. So if they want to figure it out, we'll help figure stuff out. But we're not trying to hide it and be like, oh, we're not going to let any big companies. No, we're just doing, and then we'll see what happens. Do the best and forget your rest. That was from T.R. Becker. So we're using a combination of that mineral, fungi, bacteria, and fulvic and humic acid. All those 5 things mixed together in a certain formulation that I don't have access to. It's our secret formulas with these gentlemen that work with us. And we'll treat before with the empty soil, treat during seeding, treat during process of growing, and then treat at harvest into that post-harvest. We could take 3 weeks or less crap soil, sandy, glyphosate, heavy metal, and make it nutrient dense, clean soil in 3 weeks or less, baby. It's super cool. So in Middle East, all these things, Arizonans that are really pissed at like the Middle East companies growing and taking all their water and them not getting anything. Well, we're going over there to show them how they can do it in sand, how they can do it in other stuff. So we love it. We think it's super fun. And I get to play from the bottom to the top. So if a top person says, hey, can we get Thrive certified? What do we need to do? Because Thrive is going to be the certification everybody's looking for.
I was going to ask. So
Thrive
this
Marketplace,
isn't just
Thrive Cucumber, Thrive, Thrive certified biologics, Thrive certified workplace, Thrive certified, similar to our friends over at Delos, and they have something called Stay Well, at these fancy hotels like the Four Seasons, where one floor is just like, ozonated water, good EMF, good air and water quality. We want to really be similar to where everything is like, oh, it has Lytra in it. I get my minerals. Oh, it's Thrive certified. So I can play in a lot of ways. So if it's not able to be Thrive certified, we'll find other ways to at least help humanity thrive in some shape or form.
So to be clear, this is not just a certification. This is a product to where you can transform soils to be a lot healthier for seeds.
Yes, we will verify and certify that it is nutrient dense.
Okay.
And we also look at the whole plant life. We look at everything. So it's a movement, number one. Under that movement, we have financing and investors, and we have a whole slew of people. It can be some company I don't even know about right now that's doing something similar, and so we'll share our information. That's the beauty of being under a movement umbrella, is I don't have to worry about just my product being cool and getting its exit. No, I mean, all that'll happen if it's a good product.
Yeah.
But I get to say, hey, here's what we're using in our mineral. We should add it to yours. And you're using the fulvic acid this way? Holy cow. What do we need to do to have you share that information with us? Whether that's partnership, licensing, money, whatever it might be. Let's keep collaborating that open source health stuff I talked about.
Yes.
And the fulvic and humic acid, by the way, is beautiful. It gives Mother Nature back the right to that coal being beautiful. Coal got such a bad rap in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And we can use the entire piece of coal. And that fulvic and humic is good for body, skin, all these applications. But we're using it also in that geoserum combination.
Okay. I'm already thinking of the documentary Kiss the Ground. I don't know if you've heard of it, seen it, but it talks about how we're only as healthy as our soil. So is this something that you are like?
Yeah, absolutely. A great documentary. We hope to have many, many more documentaries out there helping us get educated. Clint Ober with the grounding, the earthingmovie.com. I mean, we're grounding at Braintap, on the chairs and things like that. We plug in grounding stuff. So the brain, nutrition, soul, right?
Yeah.
Those three things, exercise, sleep, nutrition.
Yes.
That's how we get healthy. Yes, stem cells help. Peptides help. Technology helps, but at the end of the day, those are the main things.
Yes, because it's all for optimal wellness. That's why we're all here, right, for biohacking. But soil is truly the root, literal root cause. If you want to talk root cause, that's literally it, and that is so exciting. I'm literally, I cannot wait to follow the journey. I'm here for that. I'm here to support it. That is amazing. But as we wrap up, I wanted to thank you for chatting and sharing the secrets and sharing all the knowledge about brain health. And I will definitely be taking this back home to my clients and to really anyone.
And thank you so much. I mean, shout out to Dr. Porter for giving me the opportunity to come out here. He's busy doing stuff, and I love that guy. If you guys look up Dr. Patrick K. Porter, great guy to follow. Podcast is phenomenal as well. We should get you on his podcast, and vice versa. It'd be super fun.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I would love that. But yes, thank you so much. It was great to meet you.
Thank you.